Hey guys, so in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you guys how to recreate this character from start to finish. So this is an Albino character design. So I'm going to be showing you guys my entire process from start to finish. So probably let me start with showing you guys other renders of this to show you guys the finished end product of this. Okay, so let's jump in and then I'll show you guys the breakdown for this. So kind of started with making sure I have right reference to use. So you can see, kind of showing you guys the references. I kind of gathered, kind of make sure I get something close enough to what I needed. So after getting my references and making sure everything is in place, kind of moved on to making sure I'm using the accurate uh, base mesh for this, just to make sure I'm using the right base mesh for this too, and then prepping this base mesh to use inside of ZBrush. This is me kind of preparing everything and making sure we're using the right base mesh with the right topology and edge loops, just to make sure we're having no issues when sculpting high resolution details on this. Another important step was to make sure the UVs are looking good and then there are no tension or stretching on the UVs, just to make sure everything's working accurately before I export this out of Maya. So now in ZBrush, making sure we're sculpting with realistic reference and also the our main reference, and keeping in mind that everything needs to be as accurate as possible anatomically. So I kind of made sure I kind of went in and then kind of captured some measure of the likeness of our reference in there, carefully making sure everything is working accurately as it should, following reward, a more realistic reward approach, kind of making sure this is looking as accurate as possible, giving that feel of being something or somewhat human or close to getting a hyper realistic photographic rendering out of this. But you can't do that without having your anatomical structures accurately in place. At this stage, we're kind of working with different map setups and working also with adding flip normals, skin kits on this, and also using the texturing XYZ 175 alpha to kind of get a more close-up, precise skin pose details in here, just to make sure everything's working accurately, to give you that realistic feel, because you can't get a realistic feel to your models or your sculpts without adding realistic details on it also. And I'm going to show you guys also some tips and tricks on how to enhance your skin pores detail even after sculpting them, to make them a bit more intense, to kind of capture or bake out realistic skin pores details out of a model in form of a texture map, just as the normal map and the displacement map inside of ZBrush. So I also went on, just as an extra additional bonus, kind of create a hat inside of ZBrush, just to get some kind of feel or look to it, giving it a kind of cowboy vibe to the character creation process. So this is just going to be an additional bonus tutorial, just to show you guys how to create an art inside of ZBrush. Then I kind of went in, I encountered baking errors inside of ZBrush to kind of bake out my normal maps. But to tackle this challenge, I kind of showed you guys also no step mixed, no step skipped, showing you guys how to accurately resolve problems with baking maps inside of ZBrush by accurately baking them in Marmoset toolbar. I've shown you guys how to export the high poly, the low poly, how to set them up in Marmoset toolbar, and how to get accurate normal map bakes inside of Marmoset toolbar with no issues at all. Then going into Substance Painter, I'm showing you guys my entire process from scratch on how to build up from an empty canvas, how to build up realistic white or exceptionally white skin texturing process inside of Substance Painter. No steps skipped, like I said initially. So everything is going to be from scratch, showing you guys my entire process, walking you guys through the process, and making sure you get the same realistic result. And not just only that, showing you guys how it's done the more professional way, so you guys can actually use these steps in your texturing process also, for texturing any type of skin and get realistic good results. I'm also going to be walking you guys through on how I created realistic eye texturing inside of Substance Painter, especially for blue eyes, using references and kind of using external maps and references to get realistic looking blue eyes inside of Substance Painter, and then making sure everything is working accurately as it should, at least close enough to something very realistic to give your characters, your model, a more appealing or realistic look to it. I'll also show you guys the process of texturing realistic looking, weathered looking heart inside of Substance Painter from scratch, showing you guys the process, my tips and tricks on how to get realistic looking leather inside of Substance Painter. Also, you can't get realistic looking skin pores detail or sweat pores detail in your model until you kind of make sure you tackle the challenges involved in painting realistic looking roughness map, kind of give that impression of your character actually sweating or sweat pores coming out from his skin, to give you that believable, reflective, realistic, hyper realistic look to your model in your final render. So I'm going to show you guys the process on how to texture, or rather paint in roughness map, to give that similar effect instead of Substance Painter. And then we get right into using XGen for generating realistic hair, inside of I'm going to show you guys the challenges I encountered creating Afro hair and how I resolve them. No steps skipped, so you guys can actually understand the errors you might encounter and how to solve and fix those errors inside of XGen, and then get good, believable Afro looking hair inside of Maya working with XGen. I'm also going to show you guys how to create short hair also inside of XGen. So this is going to be a two-part series of how I create Afro hair and also create short hair for your character, to kind of make sure we're getting good result also too, by giving you guys an extra bonus on how to create short hair inside of XGen for Maya. I'm also going to show you guys how to create good looking beard and creating or making sure we get realistic beard in XGen, working with guys, sculpting guys, and making sure everything look as realistic as possible, so your final renders can look good, almost even better than mine, I believe so. But making sure we're following the accurate process that kind of give us that realistic result, following simplistic accurate steps that gives you that result you're looking for without so much of an issue, and facing challenges, also showing you guys how to resolve such challenges that arises in getting your final look looking as good as possible. Then we jump right into the look development process, setting up light and making sure our maps are being imported accurately, showing you guys parameters that are extremely important and key to getting a good and believable realistic renders with working with Arnold instead of Maya. It can also be quite challenging getting realistic but believable looking eyes working with Arnold, bringing the textures in from Substance Painter and Maya, and then setting them up accurately. So I'm going to show you guys my simplistic process of kind of bringing all this in and then doing test renders and then making sure everything's working accurately as it should, and then getting believable rendered eyes inside of Maya with Arnold. And then showing you guys how to get proper skin texturing or rendering rather inside of Arnold for Maya. And then I'm going to show you guys also how to make sure our light setup is good, and then we move right into look development for the XGen hair. So there's one thing to kind of get good looking blonde hair inside of Maya for your rendering. So I'm going to show you guys how to do that accurately with the right parameters, kind of make sure everything's working accurately enough for you. I'm also going to be showing you guys how to walk through different parameters and apply Arnold's standard hair to make sure you're not missing any steps in making sure your renders looking as good as you want them to, especially if you're going for a more realistic render for your characters. So to finish things up, I'm going to be showing you guys how to use Arnold light blockers, kind of get realistic looking light blocking inside of Arnold to give you that kind of god ray or kind of window, kind of highlight casting of light on your models, and how to manipulate those lights accurately enough using imported textures created in Substance Painter, created in Photoshop from scratch, putting them in and then manipulating them to get good looking light rays effect on your model. So at the end of this tutorial, you should be able to kind of get something like this as your final render, and then try other render setup also in there to get something as realistic as this. So thank you guys for watching, and hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you guys in the next lesson. So let's get right to it. Bye for now.